Hello and welcome back to the HOTLCast. I'm Cyle.
I'm Matt.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Mark.
And we are here talking about all things HOTL.
That's right.
We like to call it full HOTL.
You like to call it full HOTL.
Like that's, I love having to explain that. But full throttle, full HOTL, we like it. So we are talking about, Ryan just came back from kind of a week away. You were counseling in Ohio down near Cincinnati, right?
Yep.
At Save a Warrior. So that's, I know, busy and productive all at the same time. So, and then you forgot your phone in the car when I tried to get hold of you. So.
I did. Actually, lots of people were trying to get hold of me. Rob, our
I thought you were home. I was like, man, he must be tired.
Rob was calling me too. Yeah. I'm like, so I'm like trying to like text on my watch, which is not convenient.
When I drive, I say this on the stage all the time. When I drive, I just call people all the time. So I was driving. So I was like, well, I'll call Ryan. He's got to be home. He's probably wanting to chat after a week away. And nope, you didn't answer. So I was like, well. So I just drove in silence for a while because it was getting late. It was like 10:30. I talked to Matt, but I'd been with Matt for the last 3 hours. So I called Matt like twice. I'm like, I'm running out of people to call and nobody's answering the phone. So I almost called you, Mark. I was like, well, I was called Mark, but
you almost made the cut. You were so close.
Yeah, I know. So we were out playing games till too late. But it was fun. So we had a good time.
I was out winning those games until too late.
Yeah, no, it was good. We had a good time.
We did.
But no, we've been talking about side quest life, which we were side questing. Late last night, we went out to Lansing and played a game together with Matt and Caleb, so it was fun. But you were kind of doing a different side quest counseling, and so we talked about how this series side quests can be good. I think side quests become bad when they detour us too far off from the main quest. Like the main quest is always Jesus, and so if you get detoured from that with your side quest, then that's a bad thing. And if the side quest becomes the main quest, it's a bad thing. Like the main quest should always be Jesus and the purpose of knowing him and making him known to the people in your life. And so we've been talking about side quest life, which I know you guys just did side quest life a month ago in a series. And so this week specifically, we talked about NPCs, like the non-playable characters in your life, the people that are part of your story because they exist in the realm of your story, but they're not you. And so you can't control them, make them do anything, but you need them. And in video games, we talked about how those non-playable characters like upgrade you, give you quests, can give you resources that you need. But in life, people are the same thing. Proverbs 27:17 says, iron as one man sharpens another. We need NPCs. So Matt, I know you really focused more on side quests about the NPC stories in Scripture. Yeah. What are your thoughts about like the NPCs in life?
Well, I think that I think whenever you covered it during the sermon on Sunday that you really nailed it, where every single person that you encounter is basically an NPC. Every single time you walk up to somebody that you don't have a deep personal relationship with, that's exactly how that plays out. And I think that for me, it drew to light from my personal perspective that I'm not doing enough. Like I'm not doing enough with that sort of stuff where there's time that we see things and we could invest that time, we could invest that energy, we could invest that effort, but instead, 2026, we are busy, we've got stuff going on and we don't put in that time and that focus. When we had covered the series up at the Jackson campus and we had gone through where we focused on, the NPCs of Scripture, the ones where you don't know a ton of stuff about them, I found myself wanting to know more, and I just don't have that information. I feel like I should be applying that same mentality with all of the people that I'm surrounded by in my everyday life too, where what is their story? Why do I not want to know more about them the same way that I want to know more about the people that we don't have a ton of details in Scripture? Right. And I think there is definitely a push-pull in that where there should be that sort of sensation and that feeling of I want to know more about what your story is. And you can absolutely speak into that, Ryan, because you have just done everything with Save a Warrior, which I love your language for this of, sharing your unshareables, with a whole group of people that, you're trying to get to know them on a level that is more than just like that cursory glance.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's, the interesting thing I've found is that we all, and Kyle, you talk about this too, just that how we all have stuff, right? And on some level, we all are a mess, and we're all ugly, and we're all beautiful, and it's just really the story we attach to what's happening in our life. But this idea of the people in our life, and how do we really like conceptualize that and see how that both connects us with God and has a tendency to be a stumbling block, right? And how do we discern what's what? How do we discern how long we spend? Because, we got to meet people where they're at. So how long do you spend in that space? I often think about it as like more of like a linear sort of thing as a path I'm on, right? And I have people behind the path farther down. I have people above, farther on the path. I have lots of people constantly coming back and guiding me that are these same kind of NPC type people. But I also have the people God's putting in my path that maybe I'm supposed to stop and offer what I have to offer. And I think really having that vision to understand that we all have stuff and we're all just working along that, right? So I don't know.
Right. No, I think that is true for all of us. Like we all are kind of our own bit of chaos sometimes. We're our own bit of blessing sometimes in our life. And so I think when we move forward in our story, like we are going down the main quest of our life, the path, and we've got our own story, and we've got to recognize that everybody else has got their own story, and we interact with each other, and sometimes those interactions are good, sometimes they're not so good. And the purpose of those interactions are really to propel us each further in our own stories. Like the relationships in our lives should better us, like should improve us, should sharpen us, should encourage us, comfort us, help us. Like that's the part of life, like having these non-playable characters, these people in our life, that should be a benefit to our own journey and to help us through our own struggle, to also help us celebrate when things are good. Like we should move down the path together. I think ultimately the goal as far as a Christ is that we're all moving down that main path together. And while doing so, we're helping each other along the path. Like when I stumble, someone helps me up. When I need a lift, someone's giving me a lift. Like those are the things I think that are important. But when we don't treat people with the value that they need, we should respect them with, then we tend to abuse those relationships and just make it all about us. And we don't help people because although someone, NPCs, we said Sunday, those people in your life might be there because you need something that they have, the tool or resource or upgrade that they have for you. But you might also be that person in their life. That's the person that's going to sharpen them, that's going to push them forward. So I think it's a both. There's ebbs and flows of life where you need to be the person who's sharpening someone else, and there's times that they need to be sharpening you. And I think, Matt, that's kind of what we see as pastors, but also just in our own lives, right?
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of a story that I told you years ago about a church elder that we had dealt with at a church that was challenged. It had some struggles, and I was sitting one time in a parking lot, and I saw one of the elders from that church who had, gotten out of his car, and he went over and he was talking to all of these people as he was walking into a supermarket. He had no idea that I was there, didn't see me, didn't know that I was there. And I just kind of sat there and I was watching as he was kind of going in. Caleb was just a baby, it was a long time ago. And I watched him kind of, talking to all of these people as he's walking his way over to the supermarket. He gets to the Salvation Army bell ringer, and he's standing there talking to the guy. He drops some money in the thing, and I'm like, oh, well, that's, pretty cool. And then the bell ringer guy hands the bells off to him and takes off, and he stands there, and he's going to be doing a shift as a bell ringer for the Salvation Army. I think that there's something to be said not only about the side quests that we see in our lives, the things that distract us, but also that there are times that there are people watching the quests that we're on collectively, where they're seeing the things that we do, the actions that we take, the things that we prioritize, the things that we say are important, where as we're kind of going down that path and we're walking through that journey, there are people that are kind of standing on the outskirts that are like, okay, so this guy or this lady say that they're a Christian. I kind of want to see the things that they prioritize, the things that they say, this is important enough to be part of my main quest. This is important enough for me to take this step forward. And sometimes it's just seeing somebody interact with a bunch of people as they're walking into a supermarket, just saying hi, greeting them, talking to them, being sociable, being friendly, letting them know that in that moment while you're talking to them, they matter. There are things that are part of our main quest that other people are constantly watching, and that is something to kind of be cognizant of, because if they're watching what you're doing and you're demonstrating that love of Christ with all of the aspects of your life, they're going to take note and they're going to recognize.
Yeah, I couldn't help but kind of think about that. Something that kind of struck with me, and I don't know how it relates. I guess I'm going to talk it out right now. But this idea of like being non-transactional, right? And some language I have is like we don't really get it until we give it away.
Right.
And so the more non-transactional I can be, the more I can just be of service, right? The more is it revealed to me all these fruits that God has have a unlimited amount that are always at my fingertips, that are always there. And oftentimes for me, I can't tap that until I make myself in a non-transactional of service sort of way, like something simple, like standing there ringing a bell, and there's nothing in it for people who are giving money, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not getting anything out of it. There's no trading of anything. And in those moments, like I often find myself, if I'm struggling with something internally, the first thing I do is think about that person in my life who I think they got this on lockdown somewhere, and I'll call them up. Oftentimes it's about being something to do with my kids and feeling like I'm failing as a father. I'll call up that dude and I'll be like, "Hey Matt, man, I really, how you handle yourself as a dad is just phenomenal, and I love you for it." And with that, it's multiply, right? It helps me to remember God goes, "Oh yeah, you're a pretty good dad too."
Yeah.
And it's interesting how God multiplies things when I exist in a non-transactional, service-oriented kind of way.
Right, yeah. You don't always have to be getting something for what you're doing, right? The time you're investing, the energy you're spending, like you don't always have to walk away with something. You can just be sharpening somebody else. You can be pouring into somebody else. And then the great thing about what you're saying is like God returns that back to us. Like that's the awesome thing. God can multiply that. God can return that back to us, often through other people, through other relationships, other blessings. I mean, that's the thing. It's like the more you give, the more you often receive. That's like the Bible, right? So we need to give more of ourselves and our time and our energy and our effort to each other so that we can then watch God move as he does the same thing and returns it to us through those NPCs in our life, the people that are not us, that are just in our circle of influence, circle of life that can pour back into us. And I think the problem is, as modern day Americans, we tend to be, as a culture, as individuals, pretty selfish. It's about self-seeking, servicing me. If I'm going to give you my time, I want something in return. If I'm going to give you my energy, I'm going to want something in return. And the problem is, it's kind of the antithesis of Scripture. Like Scripture is like, no, give of yourself, and then I will give to you. When the world is, give more to me, and then maybe I'll give back to you if I get enough.
Easy now, hard later, right?
Yeah,
that's what I say.
I think that's the difference. So, and the problem is, when we're looking at like the side quest life, we get so trapped in these things that are not the main quest. And then we try to get everything from that and like for ourselves. We want to take. We're supposed to be in those things that we're doing, whatever side quest it might be, sports, hobbies, entertainment, arts, education, whatever. We're supposed to be still giving. We're supposed to be doing that non-transactional. I like the way you're saying that. Type of giving to that thing, investing in those people, and that's just not normal in our culture.
So we've talked a lot about Riftbound and how you've kind of been trying to bring people into this group, into this collective to be able to play this game. And when you first kind of got Caleb in and got him involved, I was like, okay, so this is cool. I'm terrible. Like I am terrible at Riftbound. But
arguably after last night,
me too.
Yeah. But it was funny because Cyle he called me up. He's like, so we've got a person who's interested in learning more about the church. They maybe want to start attending, and it took that conversation for it to finally click for me because I had been practicing with Caleb and trying to get better at it. And I'm like, okay, Cyle wants me to come out to these events. I need to do better. I need to be able to win. I need to be able to do this. And he's like, no, I'm doing this as a ministry thing where this is going to be bringing people together and building relationships and stuff. And in that moment, I was so consumed with the earthly main quest idea of, I need to be good at this game to be able to go out and compete, to whenever you had the conversation with me, I'm like, So you just want me to be able to come out and talk to people and lose every game I play for Jesus? I can totally do that.
Losing for Jesus.
That's
We're
exactly
title
right.
this podcast, Losing for Jesus. Yeah.
But that's what it became for me, was being able to look at it and say, okay, so the point is not to come out and win the card games. I'm not going to ever have the championship mats that, Kyle's been racking up left and right. But if I'm building the relationships, that's the only part of it that actually matters. It doesn't matter if I win the card games. It doesn't matter if I ever, get one of the play mats that says champion on the bottom. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. What does matter is that I'm out there with the people, spending time, building relationships, getting to know people, and being the hands and feet of Jesus in my conversations, even if I am terrible at this game.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just there's an intentionality to that non-transactional kind of experience. We last night when we were filming, we're filming this on a Tuesday, so Monday night we were in Lansing till 10:30. We were playing an event where we got cards and made a deck and play it. So 3 games in, I'm talking to a guy I had seen 2 other times, but I'd never talked to, I've never played against him yet, because there's often a lot of people at these events. And I'm like, hey, so you're from Lansing? I mean, I start up a conversation with everybody because that's just the purpose of why we're doing this. Like, let's meet people. This is my opportunity to have an experience with non-Christian people, because I'm surrounded by Christian people. And so I always introduce myself. I always see where they're from. And then hoping they're going to ask me where I'm from and what I do, because then I'm like, well, I'm a pastor, and these are all my people and that are with me. And so the one guy's like, no, I'm not from Lansing. I'm like, where are you from? He's like, Spring Arbor. I was like, oh, Spring Arbor. We're from Jackson. I was like, well, we hang out and play in Jackson. You want to come play with us? So he's like, yeah. And his buddy was from Spring Arbor, goes to school there. I said, well, I'm also, oversee the camp Somerset Beach. He goes, I went to Somerset Beach growing up. So they started having this conversation. So we're having lunch today. I was like, well, you want to grab lunch tomorrow and just talk? And so, yeah, he's telling me about his life, and we're just talking. I was like, well, let's grab lunch and talk. I mean, there's an intentionality that I think people need to live more with. Like, I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to have that conversation. We were there to play cards, but there's still people. And if you're trying to give, do I have to go to lunch with this guy? No, it was just like, hey, we should get together sometime. We got things in common. And it's like, yeah, let's grab lunch. Let's talk. And so I don't know where it goes. It's not like some traps are going to come to church, because Spring Arbor's not close, but we don't know where that's going to go. I mean, maybe at the time in the life that I have lunch with this guy, he's, God's speaking to him. I don't know. We'll see. But that's kind of what you do when you're intentionally trying to go meet people and share in their journey. He's just an NPC in the story, but could I be that NPC that sharpens him? He just quit his job at the university, probably seeking the next stage in life. I might be the right person at the right time. I don't know. Yeah. Could just be a lunch, but you never know unless you go out there and you just try. And so I think that's the importance of, you can do that in anything that you're doing. You can do that sitting at on the sidelines at one of your kids' sporting events instead of being on your phone. Just talk to people. I've been guilty of being on my phone too much at those things. And I've had to really work hard to not do that in the context that we're in with Riftbound, because it'd be so easy to just be done playing, go play on my phone for 20 minutes and wait for everybody to be done. But I've really tried to be more intentional about this isn't a community I can pour into for Christ and see what God can do. And God's already doing awesome stuff. I mean, we're already seeing people coming to our Jackson campus and relationships developing. It's really wild. But you have to do it non-transactionally. I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm giving and pouring into it and seeing what God can do.
Yeah, see, it's that connection of intentionally being a disciple, right? If I'm living it out, and I'm really being intentional, and I'm being bold about it. The immense amount of connection and peace that I find with God, I mean, it's indescribable. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, but I think the hardest part is that giving up that worldly concept that says, the world says, oh, you got to look good, and God says, what looks good to me does not look good to the world.
So true.
And so it's really it requires a lot of faith.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully as you're living this side quest life, that you really focus on keeping the main thing. Recognize the people that are in your story that are not you, the NPCs, they matter, because either they're supposed to pour into you and strengthen you, encourage you, or you're supposed to do the same thing for them. And you're supposed to help each other down that main quest towards Jesus, towards an eternity spent with him. And so we hope that you're listening, and you hope you're learning, and we hope you're applying this in your life. And so I go out and really focus on having more non-transactional relationships and watch what God does as you pour yourself into him. Thanks for listening.